back. At one point in his new book, Bob Woodward details how Republican Senator Lindsey Graham blamed the culture at Mar-a-Lago for Donald Trump's inability to put the 2020 election behind him. So in a conversation with colleagues, Graham reportedly said, quote, "It's the attitude down at Mar-a-Lago. You know, all the people he hangs around with down there. They constantly feed this narrative. He thinks he lost because of all these bizarre conspiracies. He didn't. Biden won fair and square," Graham added. Trump doesn't like to hear that. I imagine he won't like hearing that quote either. Joining us now, congressional investigations reporter for The Washington Post, Jackie Alamany. Jackie, good to see you this morning. So let's dig in a little bit here. Certainly when Donald Trump was in office, his aides would always get nervous when he'd go to Mar-a-Lago or Bedminster because they weren't sure what his friends, often his rich friends, would say to him, and he'd come back with some crazy idea. Senator Graham is suggesting that environment at Mar-a-Lago helped perpetuate the big lie.
Absolutely. I mean, there are no holds barred at Mar-a-Lago. This was the big concern over 4 years, and really over the past 4 years, too, especially as the former president built this cocoon around him and filled his club with all of these people who told him exactly what he wanted to be hearing, especially in the wake of January 6th. You know, in typical Trumpian fashion, there's really been little that they can do about that. There were people like Nick Fuentes, Laura Loomer, all of these hanger-oners who now have made their way really into the campaign. Lindsey Graham's very candid on-the-record account of how the environment that Mar-a-Lago is in, that is akin to a place like North Korea with the praise that's lavished on Trump at times, is a rare on-the-record account.
Right. It's another moment, though, also where we have a Republican lawmaker, a prominent Republican lawmaker, say one thing behind the scenes about Trump that he never would say in a public setting in front of the media, let's say. And like that, to your point, is continuing even now at a very dangerous moment for our country. Donald Trump is the leading spreader of disinformation and misinformation about the response to Hurricane Helene. And now we have another even bigger storm barreling down on the Florida coast. Just talk to us about that dynamic.
I mean, Anna Paulina Luna, she represents St. Petersburg, that district that is about to get crushed, where the mayor came out on TV and said, if you do not evacuate, you are going to get killed. And she is one of the lead propagators of this disinformation. She appeared on stage with Donald Trump last week. These are lawmakers who are directly emboldened by Trump and who are rewarded for propagating this propaganda, really, and disinformation. She was even corrected on Twitter for demanding that FEMA provide funding for hurricane relief, even though she just 2 weeks ago voted against it in Congress, against a bill that would have authorized more relief fund from FEMA. She's also one of the lead spreaders of disinformation that FEMA has instead directed funds to helping illegal immigrants rather than hurricane relief. That, again, is false. Of course, there are real issues to take up with FEMA every single hurricane that we've had. These are really challenging situations with hard to reach communities, especially in places like rural North Carolina. There are real issues that constituents and lawmakers can take up with FEMA, but it's certainly not the issues that we're seeing Republicans rally around right now.
And talk to us a little bit more about how these storms become politicized, when, of course, there are a moment when politics should be set aside. Instead, the exact opposite happens. It seemed like President Biden tried to diffuse it a little bit yesterday. He went out of his way to say he'd spoken to Governor DeSantis of Florida. They had a good conversation. But from the GOP side, it's often the opposite, including DeSantis saying his team saying they wouldn't even take a call from Vice President Harris.
Yeah, I mean, the timing of it just lends itself to pure politicization. We're a month out from the election, and Republican lawmakers, especially in these vulnerable districts, again, this Anna Paulina Luna, she's running against a woman named Whitney Fox. This is a district that should have been winnable, except that Anna Paulina Luna is extremely MAGA, and her district is a little bit more purple, and St. Petersburg is actually a little bit more of a blue city. And this is something that is catching up to her. She's having to explain for why she voted against these hurricane relief funds right in the midst of hurricane season. So naturally, you're going to see Republican lawmakers on their heels trying to explain why they didn't support additional funding.
And lastly, just give us a very quick sense of the state of the race for the Senate right now. I know Wisconsin Senator Baldwin got some polling. The race shows a tightening race.
I mean, Democratic lawmakers across the board, especially Wisconsin, Montana, they're in really tight races. Texas as well. I mean, Texas was always going to be a long shot, but Wisconsin and Montana are those two hotspots that we're especially looking at. Tammy Baldwin, again, I think it was turned to a toss-up now, in a place where she normally previously would have been a bit of a shoo-in. John Tester as well, someone who has defied political gravity for really the entirety of his career now, seems to be behind a fairly vulnerable and weak Republican candidate. It's unclear if this is purely a Kamala Harris effect or what. But the Senate Democratic forecast is not
growing pessimistic
great.
For sure. And the signs there about Wisconsin, what does that mean for the presidential race in such a key battleground? Congressional investigations reporter for the Washington Post, Jackie Alamany. Jackie, thank you so much.